I've been thinking about changing my name. Not my YouTube name, no. Rest assured, I know Sunburned Albino is perfect. My real name, Kevin Miller, in case some of you are continuing to deprive yourselves of my Twitter account, which is at Sunburned Albino, by the way, no tricks there. If you want to become famous, you need a famous-sounding name. This means the right pairing of first and last name to create something that rolls off the tongue and, most importantly, rings a bell. There are three categories for both first and last names: basic, uncommon, and exotic. The pairing of these categories is more specifically intuitive than you might think, especially when you account for the fact that I am literally making this all up as I write this script. For example, you might think that having two exotic names means you're at the top of the value game in terms of recognition, but if your name sounds ridiculous and fake, people aren't going to take you seriously, although there is the notable exception of Joaquin Phoenix. Every rule has exceptions, especially when I don't do any research before creating a system to classify the identity of every human in the world. Basic names might feel basic, but when paired with an exotic or even an uncommon, they can soar to greater heights because they help emphasize the more rare name. A good example of this would be Zach Galifianakis. Zach is a basic name, while Galifianakis is obviously exotic. Zach doesn't hog Galifianakis' spotlight, so it doesn't feel like there's a struggle for dominance. Brad Pitt is one of the most recognizable names in the business. Both names are uncommon. Angelina Jolie has two uncommon names as well, but she also has exotic charity adoptions to call her own. In my mind, the most effective way to keep people's attention and memory is to have a basic first name paired with an uncommon last name. Adam Sandler is an example of this. Tom Hanks, Emily Blunt, Tom Cruise, Kevin Spacey, James Spader, all basic first names with uncommon lasts. I have two basic names, Kevin Miller. That's the worst combination, because then you don't stand out at all. Hey, have you heard of Kevin Miller? Miller sounds like he works at a manufacturing facility as a drunk painter. Either name by itself would be fine, but combined they form a regrettable ID. You might say, but Kevin James is successful, at which point I'm prepared to laugh you right out of the room. Let's name all the famous Kevins. Who are they? We've got Kevin Spacey, aforementioned, with the uncommon last name, who is an acting savant. We've got Kevin James with two basic names, who savant would never be used to describe. There's Kevin Federline, who most people have forgotten by now, but even though his career is less prolific than his ex Britney Spears' wig collection, he has the uncommon last name and it sounds pretty good. Kevin Pollak is a Jew. That's all he ever needed to make it. Kevin Hart has an uncommon last name that's even spelled wrong for good measure. Kevin Jonas has the uncommon last name and used to have 3 copies of it to help back him up. Kevin Costner with the uncommon last name. Everyone has the uncommon last name to go with the Kevin if they're famous. Kevin itself is a very appealing first name. Just needs a little spice sprinkled onto the end. I've made a list of possible last names to change mine to, and by I've made a list, I mean I will now commence making a list. I thought about channeling my absolute adoration for the Pokemon series by making my last name a Pokemon, but some fucking basketball player beat me to it, Kevin Durant. Asa Butterfield, the guy who's going to be the next Spider-Man, might as well be named Asa Butterfree. That's all I think of when I hear his name. It's hard to find a Pokemon last name that doesn't sound extremely gay, but Diana Agron pulled it off, so I'm currently looking through the Pokedex. Kevin Cedra, Kevin Ariados makes me sound Mexican, same for Chin Chow and Chinese. Look, just keep indulging me. Kevin Donphin just makes me sound fat. Kevin Stantler wouldn't be bad if I didn't think Stantler was one of the ugliest Pokemon there is. Kevin Trico puts me in the Italian Mafia. Kevin Bacon sounds too much like Kevin Bacon, who I just realized I forgot in my previous list. Alright, I'm skipping ahead to when I list my choices. Yes, I went through the entire Pokedex. There's Kevin Cedra, Kevin Beldam, Kevin Shinks, which I really like now. Kevin Lucario might be too ambitious, but I still like how it sounds. Kevin Finion, Kevin Masharna makes me sound mystical as shit. Kevin Emolga, Kevin Poniard, and Kevin Amora. My favorite Pokemon, had to put it there. I'm going to narrow those down to my top 4, and from here normally you would see someone throw up a charade of, now it's your turn to vote for your favorites, but there's way not enough of you to do that, so this is just to make myself not feel like I did all this for no reason, even though that's exactly why. The top 4 choices for my Pokemon last name are Kevin Amora, Kevin Shinks, Kevin Beldam, Kevin Finion. I had to make it a top 4 because I couldn't just pick 3, which will inevitably make picking the top 1 very difficult. This is for me to ponder now, let's move on. The fact is, I have to change my name. There are a few Kevin Millers who are famous enough to appear in Google searches. One is a voice actor, which already, since that's a desirable field of mine, cannot stand. Kevin Miller is the voice of Sly Cooper. I can't start moving up in the world, or else we'll be confused and make things complicated. Another Kevin Miller is a radio host, another plays hockey. I thought about Joseph Gordon-Leviting it with my 3 names, but there's something too formal about that feels wrong. The name is everything in a brand. Would you buy clothes from Teddy Bauer? Victor's Secret? How about The Gape? The importance cannot be overstated. Sunburned Albino is a retailing success in the making. It's memorable, lightly offensive, and if the Washington Redskins are any indication, it'll be 80 years before anyone suddenly has a problem with it. And by then, I'll be way too dead to give a shit. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.